So this week I bought all the most common DC rated circuit breakers on Amazon. And what's crazy is these little devices, they're as cheap as $10. And the safety of your entire system and whether your house will burn down or not is dependent on this. But how can you tell if these are any good? Especially when the name brand ones look identical to the cheap Chinese ones on Amazon. Are they the same? They look the same. This one's rated for 150 amps. This one is rated for 160 amps. But why is it so big? Is there a reason? And we use these DC breakers as PV disconnects. But is this safe to do? So today we're going to go over a lot of this, but we have to talk about how these things work to truly understand. So first off, this is a temperature sensitive switch. If it gets too hot, it will disconnect electrically these two terminals. Now breakers can be made for AC or DC. A DC current, when it's flowing, is a lot harder to stop than AC. AC goes through a waveform, so you go up to a peak voltage, down to 0, and then a negative, and then back to 0. And when it goes through 0, it's easier for these to work. But in a DC system, this is constant current that's always flowing. And when it's flowing, it doesn't want to stop. So it's harder for a DC breaker to do its job. It usually has to be larger and it has to be able to handle a lot more heat. And they don't like to last as long because every time this has to disconnect all that current, it damages it a little bit. That's why there's duty cycles for all of these breakers. For example, this one has an electrical life of 2,000 cycles and a mechanical life of 4,000 cycles. So you don't want to be turning this on and off like a switch. It's only for emergency if there's an overload or a fault. Eventually, these do fail. They wear out. They have moving parts. They're not solid state. Now a fuse is solid state, but guess what? Once it fails, and it's done. At least with this, I can get a few thousand cycles, which is very impressive for what it's actually doing. Now this is an AC rated breaker and you cannot use these for DC unless they're rated for it. Like a lot of these chintz are rated for AC and DC, but these are only rated for AC. So if you're wiring up a battery or a solar panel, you never want to use an AC breaker. You need to use a DC rated breaker. It's a total world of a difference when it comes to disconnecting that arc. It's like 10 times more energy that you're dealing with. Now the first rule of breakers is if it doesn't have a trip curve and a data sheet, you probably shouldn't use it. So for some fun testing, I bought all these cheap ones that don't have data sheets. And surprisingly, they actually worked well. All of these on the table within 10 to 30 seconds tripped when I gave it an overload situation. And this is where I test the breakers. I have a 300 amp electronic load, 4-aught cables, and these two batteries in parallel that are constantly being charged. And I have all these adapters to change the temperature of them to see what they'll do. Because how you wire up these breakers will determine the temperature they'll run at and when they'll trip. So we'll get into that in a second, but let me show you how I test these breakers. So first, make sure it's attached really good. Add a meter to verify results. Now this is rated for 100 amps, so let's give it 200 amps and see what happens. 1, 2, 3, 1, 22, 23, 24, boom. Now that it's tripped, it doesn't want to, oh, it reset pretty quickly. If we do this test over and over again, it will be harder and harder to reset as it gets more and more warm. So now let's give it 300 amps. And here we go, 300 amps, 1, 2, 3, 4, boom, that was quick. Now we're gonna do 140 amps. We're gonna use the stopwatch and it started. We're about to hit a minute and we're at 121 degrees Fahrenheit. And it's usually the side and the back of the case that gets hot. So that's where you want to point your heat camera. 123. Once you know a breaker pretty well, you'll know exactly what temperature the surface is when it trips. And usually this one trips at about 130 degrees. So we have a little more to go. Oh, 127 in 2 minutes and 54 seconds. And I did this all day with every single breaker on the table. And let me show you guys what I learned. So for the first test, I took every breaker and I gave it double the current that's listed on the front just to see what would happen. And everything here tripped within 10 to 30 seconds. And I thought, that's great. Wow, maybe the cheap ones are good. But I noticed some of them were very warm, especially these square ones that I see everywhere. And then I noticed that the more expensive one made by Busman, which is made by Eaton, looks exactly the same as the cheap ones. And they're so similar that they look like they came from the same mold. So I started testing all of these just to see how hot they got and when they tripped. Now I had to think of a better way to test these because the overload with a few hundred amps tripped all of them, even the cheapest ones. So what I did instead is I ran it under its rated current. So this one's rated for 100 amps, so I ran it at 99 amps. And this one's rated for 150, so I ran it at 149. And this got these breakers hot. I got the maximum temperature readings with this method. Now the first ones I tested were the square ones because even though they have different materials like the more expensive one and some of them have subtle differences, they all tripped at the same temperature with the same duration. Except for this one, the T-Tokas. And I noticed on the back, it looked different. Mostly, not this part, but this part down here because it has larger studs. Because it has larger studs, I could connect the 4/0 gauge cables directly to it, which guess what? It would wick away heat from this, which would allow it to run cooler, 40 to 50 degrees cooler. So to test my theory, I made these extension leads with smaller lugs. So this will allow this to heat up. And the hotter it gets, the faster it will trip because these are temperature dependent switches. And guess what? It ran hotter and it tripped faster. Almost the same numbers as these. So even though this one's different, it has larger lugs and it works better and it has a published trip curve, it is still the same thing. I mean, look at them. They're the same, which is crazy because this Bussmann costs a lot more than the others. And this one hit 227 degrees Fahrenheit. And I thought, hey, is that too much? So I looked into it and I found out that non-metallic parts on a breaker, Underwriters Laboratory or UL says that it shouldn't exceed 185 degrees Fahrenheit. But then I thought, how many people are even using large lugs on these? For a 150 amp breaker, people are using smaller gauge wire. And if they're using this with this tiny little terminal, look how small this little screw is. If you look at the hardware that comes with it, they're recommending a 6 gauge, okay, with the 5/16. And there's a lot of play in there. This will cause it to get to a really high temperature, which is technically not safe to Underwriters Labs standards. So then I tested everything else. Now these ones tripped at a much lower temperature and worked really well, but the terminals would get very hot, and I do not like this design. I've seen these melted, and I think it's because of this terminal. This little screw terminal is just a bad design. But the mechanism inside worked fine. It was pretty surprising. I thought these would fail. And then I tested these ones, and these are interesting. They did work just like all the other ones from normal overload, and they have larger studs, which is good, so you can put a larger lug on there and dissipate heat away from it. And neither one exceeded 180 degrees Fahrenheit, which was nice. But then I noticed that the one on the left had a problem. This little arm was not resetting. It would trip and it did work, but there's an issue. It's supposed to reset like this. Next, I tested this one, and this one has all the certifications. It has this data sheet with the trip curves, and it looks nice. They use these a lot for large batteries. And the rated breaking capacity, or the maximum amount of current that this can disconnect, is 20,000 amps. It's like a T-class fuse. And it can handle 500 volts, which is crazy. So I hooked it up to my machine, and I did some testing. First, I did 300 amps. And this one tripped a little after 30 seconds, which on the graph, that's what it's supposed to do. But then I noticed the bottom was very hot, just as hot as these cheap ones. And I was like, what's going on? UL said that the non-metallic parts cannot exceed 185 degrees Fahrenheit, but this thing is hitting 230. And it gets hot right here. X marks the spot. And I have a bunch of data that I collected. I got heat camera photos, and this thing gets really stupid hot. So I did some more research, and I found out that that temperature rating of 185 for non-metallic things on a breaker is only for the handles and the knobs and the surface mount stuff. Everything down below, it's not applicable, which means these were not overheating. They weren't. The super cheap ones were not exceeding the temperature because where these got hot was underneath. The top was cool to the touch, all the handles and the knobs. But the performance of this was better. It was more consistent. These things are largely dependent on how you wire them. This one has a totally different terminal design. This thing is humongous. Even though it gets hot, it's tripping how it's supposed to trip. Compare that big piece of copper to that little tiny stud. And this one's rated for 150, and this one's rated for 160. These are pretty inconsistent. This one, I could get it really hot, cycle it multiple times, drop it down to 159 amps, and run it for an hour, and it always works the same every time. But there was one exception, these. How they're designed, they're the same internal mechanism as all these other cheap ones. You'll notice they all look very similar, but because of where these studs are located, they ran at a lower temperature, so the performance was better. And it didn't matter how I wired it. So this was the best budget fuse that I used. Again, this is a no-name one, and this is Glosso. So who knows who's actually making these, but you can tell these are the same design as all the cheaper ones. But this is a better design when the studs are mounted like this. One exception was the super cheap square one, and the reset button would get stuck, especially when it was hot. Sometimes it would take 20 minutes for it to reset. But out of all of these, this one, no matter what temperature it was at, it always worked, especially right under its rated capacity. With all of these, once these got really hot, I could trip them very easily. There was no consistency at all. But I was surprised that the budget ones did work well for overload. So if you give any of these 200 or 300 amps from like a dead short, these ones will trip. Now these are a PV disconnect breaker. They're rated for DC. You put them in a box and you can use this to disconnect a solar array safely. But one time these did not extinguish an arc, and they were arcing for like 5 seconds. So I did some testing to see if they're working. And again, I only disconnected a few times with this, not much. So I put 300 amps on one of these poles, and guess what? It tripped. And then I put 100 amps on it, and it's rated for 63 amps. And it did not trip, and it got really smelly, and it burned. There's a small brown mark right here on the case. Might be a little hard to see, but there is some discoloration. So technically it did trip at higher current, but it didn't trip at lower current, and it started to melt. Very dangerous. So I'm gonna have a new recommendation. These are fine for solar generators or 12 volt stuff, but if you have like 200, 300, 500 volt system, you should use one of these disconnects that's UL listed. Just common sense wise, this is a lot more reliable because this is designed to be a switch. These are designed to be a breaker. These are different applications. We can technically use this, and a lot of people do, and I'm probably still gonna use it for small systems, but I'm never gonna use these again on large systems. It's just not safe. And these are like 30 bucks and they're better. So yeah, just get one of these. So to summarize how these work, how you wire them to your system will determine the temperature that they run at and their tripping characteristics. Just because you get a data sheet and it shows a trip curve does not mean that this is accurate. Using oversized conductors and properly sized lugs is how you want to use these breakers always. That is the main rule. And you have to torque it to the proper spec. I haven't even mentioned that. I've been rambling about everything else. So every single breaker should have a torque spec for these terminals and a temperature rating. And the temperature rating needs to match everything else in that circuit, including the insulation of the conductor that you're using. And the lugs, if you're using them, you want to use high quality thick ones that are UL listed. And then you only want a single conductor on this terminal, and that's it. And last, you do not want to put multiple conductors on these terminals, only one, and it has to be properly sized. Then you use a torque screwdriver or a small torque wrench to tighten these to the proper spec, and then you'll be okay. You have to do everything right or you can cause a fire. Now, after all this testing, I have a newfound appreciation for fuses. These are mechanical devices with moving parts. They will fail eventually, and if you have a large battery, I don't think you should use these. I think you should use the properly sized fuse. And even when they use these in batteries, they also have a fuse like the Yijing. And they have a BMS, so they have 3 safety protection features for overcurrent. Especially if you have a Chinese battery with a weird name and it was super cheap, throw one of these on there. It's a fuse that goes on the terminal. And we're gonna test these in the next video, so who knows, maybe these aren't good either. But I would trust these a lot more than any of these. And when it comes to DC, bigger is always better. So anyways, I'm gonna continue testing. This is a beginner video to all of this that I'm learning. I've never tested these before, but now I'll always test them because these matter the most. This can determine if your house will burn down or not. And I hope other channels start testing these too. We always find problems with batteries, but we never question these circuit breakers. And there are pictures of these melted online. But I think the number one problem that people are doing is they're not tightening them down properly and they're not using the properly sized lug. Or it has this. I do not like these screw terminals. If it looks like this, just run. I don't like these at all. They always wiggle loose. Look how small this is for 150 amps. Like, come on. Common sense, guys. I think these go up to like 200 and they have the same size stud. It's just ridiculous. And these are beefier, but guess what? It arrived broken. Come on, a safety device. 1 and 2 broken for me? That's wild. And if you see an arc through the case, you should throw it out. If you smell something bad, throw them out. You need to find out the source of it because even though it trips sometimes, it might not trip all the time, so be careful. Now I'm gonna make a recommendation. If I'm building a system, I like T-class fuses and they're getting cheaper. Next, marine grade fuses from Blue Sea Systems. Next, if I'm going for a breaker, I'm going for something big and something like this. And I just ordered all of their other ones, so we're gonna be testing those soon as well. And for disconnect, use one of these. Notice how everything here that I recommend is huge. When it comes to DC, bigger is better. It is a red flag when something this small is rated for 150 amps and this is rated for 160. Which one would you trust with your house? I would trust a Mega Fuse or an A&L over any of these cheap breakers. And now they make small T-class fuses. How cool is that? So if you have a small solar charge controller, you can just connect one of these instead. And these ones, you can put massive lugs. There's huge, nice fuse holders that are safe to use. I hope this was super useful for you guys. If you disagree with anything that I said here, please let me know in the comment section below. And on the forum, we have a whole thread talking about all the testing that I'm doing. If you disagree with any of my recommendations, please let me know. Also, while editing this video, I found out this is $34. What is the reason to trust one of these when this is a little over 30 bucks? This is 2 sushi rolls and so much safer. Just the disconnect breaking capacity over 20,000 amps versus this at max is like 600 to 1,000. So anyways, I could ramble on forever, but yeah, go with something nice. There's no reason to trust these ones, but they did work for overload. Anyways, if you disagree with anything, please post it down below and we have a forum thread about this whole discussion and what I'm testing. So if you disagree with anything, please let me know. Thank you so much for watching, and in the next video, we're gonna be testing fuses. So I'll see you then. Bye.